Hi, I'm Dr. Annie Clark with the Pennsylvania Coalition of Public Charter Schools, and we are here with Growing Up Charter. My guest today is someone who I respect very much. She's a fellow educator, Dr. Sherry Roland Washington, and she is the owner of a CRW consulting firm, which provides educational services in the area of private tutoring, SAT prep, curriculum design, and grant writing, which we all need grant writing. She is from York as well as I am. You guys know that. She has her PhD in educational leadership, has a superintendent certificate from Capella University, has done teaching and leadership in private, public, and charter schools. And we're just so glad that you're here with us today to talk about your amazing work with children, which is what we all value. So tell us more about you and what you're doing.
Hi, thank you for having me here. So as you said, my name is Dr. Roland Washington. It is SRW Consulting. And we work in our passion. I love helping young people discover their learning style. And I'm sorry, that is my cat. Gathering skills so that they can continue to succeed. It's really about advocacy and teaching our young people how they learn and helping their parents understand what type of accommodations they can request to help their learners thrive. But we also enjoy helping young people navigate the college process. So I enjoy curriculum writing and grant writing. Curriculum, I'm a nerd. So like if someone said, can you write curriculum? Where people might play spades, I would write curriculum.
Yes. Yes, that is your mind. It's very detailed, which I love about you. I think watching this from the outside, this process, and I know that you've been involved in other people too, but I mean, I've seen that we had a situation in York that we didn't have. I don't feel like a lot of our young people being really prepared for college, getting there, yes, but not prepared once they got there. And now it seems like we have this huge group of young people who are getting there and they're thriving and they're setting this example. And I know that you've had a huge part to play in that. So can you tell us how we went from really nothing to sort of this really something?
It was a focus. It started prior to getting my principal's certificate and serving as an educational leader. I had a tutoring company. But when you become a principal, you're working 12, 18 hours a day, if not more.
Yes.
You're on call 24/7. So it was during that time when I was serving as the assistant superintendent at Stilton High Spire School District. In their athletic program, they're known as Titletown.
Okay.
And one of the young men, Lloyd, came to me and said, hey, I heard you help with SAT prep. And I looked at him and said, I haven't done that in 5 years. Why are you asking me?
Right.
He's like, Miss, I really need this. They gave me a scholarship offer, but I have to have this certain score. So I said, okay, I'll work with you. Come on in. Let's get it done. Later on, he was like, just thank you because of working with me. He was able to get his score up and secured a full ride to St. Francis University. So after retiring, sitting there reflecting like, God, what do you want me to do next?
Right.
And lo and behold, Russell Stoner, the coach for York High football team, has a nonprofit, AFL. And his focus was on not just helping the young men thrive on the field, but thinking about the future. And AFL stands for Accountability for Life. He wanted them to be accountable. And so we partnered together. I think the first year he watched me, and it was funny. The first year back into it, I received a donation from the York County Black Golfers Association to provide SAT prep to young men, young ladies in the community.
Yes.
We did that as a pilot. It took off. Coach Stoner saw how some of his players were able to boost their scores by 100 points.
Wow.
So then the following year, he was like, okay, I want you on board. And it just took off from there. And it's not just York High students, it's continued to grow. Um, we worked with a lot of young people from Central York School District, a lot of athletes. This year we expanded to, because of COVID, virtual. And so
Yeah.
we offer virtual and in-person simultaneously. And we have clients from North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas,
Wow.
Atlanta, Georgia, DMV. But it's not just athletes anymore. It's young people who need assistance in navigating that process. I think we're successful because we partner with parents and we partner with schools, and we all work collaboratively together.
Yes, I mean, it has been amazing to watch, and it truly does look like a real collaboration. And what has happened with the students beyond improving their test scores, which I know they have, but what else have you seen the benefits to our children from having just, I don't know, so many people involved?
Well, I think one of the things I learned, Dr. Clark, was, you know, I learned that a lot of schools didn't know what they didn't know.
Mm,
I learned that a lot of parents and community people didn't understand that some of our high school counselors have a caseload of 200
mm, okay,
to 150 students,
right.
unless you're going to a private school like Logos or your Country Day. And so it's really kind of impossible or challenging, not impossible, all things are possible, but challenging for a high school counselor to balance helping young people navigate the college process, counseling them for whatever's going on, helping them monitor their grades, doing standardized testing arrangement is hard.
Yes,
And so our students didn't understand that the SAT was just the first step. They didn't understand how to navigate the Common App portal or the HBCU Common App portal, or, okay, you did that, what's next? Some of the successes we've seen was students understood by getting accepted to multiple colleges, applying early,
yes,
maintaining a GPA above a 3.0,
yes,
engaging in community service, helped you secure merit-based scholarships.
yes.
And so if I received a merit-based scholarship, let's say from Albright, but I want to attend Concordia,
Yes,
and they did not grant me as much money, you now have leveraging. You can say, well, hey, they granted me this much. Can you grant me more? That process helps our parents and helps our young people attend school with little debt to no debt. We also, well, some of the things we learned, we had to focus on writing.
yes.
Our young people were afraid to apply for scholarships because they had this allergic reaction to writing.
Mhm.
Um, our SAT prep is not just about learning how to pass the test, it's skills that they learn how to apply while they're in college.
Yes.
Um, the most important piece is teaching our young people how to ask questions and not just sit there
Mm.
and take in the information, but be an active participant in learning.
Let me
And when
ask
they
you.
go off to
Yeah.
college, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to ask you right there. So that's a good point for our school leaders. How is that you get students to go from just listening to being an active participant? How are some of the things you've done to be able to do that?
As an educator, we have to be reflective and observant.
Mm-hmm.
We all have our awesome lesson plan, right? Or we should,
Yes.
right? With our objectives we want to cover. But if you notice the temperature is off in the classroom, you have to change it up and do something to capture their attention.
Yes.
So one thing, when I'm teaching SAT virtually, and I feel like, okay, you guys are dead or tired,
Right.
I will throw on music. And they're like, what's going on? I'm like, are you awake now? They're
Oh.
like, okay, let's go. Or the best piece is getting the students to engage in conversation with each other.
Mm.
For our cyber charter schools, actually doing the breakout sessions. giving them a to-do question, having them engage in conversation, and then who's reporting out, recording that and sharing it.
Right.
Really having the students learn from each other is a key in helping our students be actively engaged. Have them debate, have them question. Teachers have to get comfortable allowing students to question what you're teaching.
Yes. I think that's such great advice because it sounds simple enough, but yet these are the things we abandon sometimes when we're stressed. We will reduce the engagement to try to control the classroom versus encourage the engagement, and then you all have classroom, management. So I definitely think that's really helpful and getting back to what's good for children. That was great. Thank you. So why do you think that when you're looking across the state of Pennsylvania, we have lots of districts, we have lots of athletes, of course, but why is this so important for schools to make scholarly athletes now? Not just, in the past, it was like if you were a great athlete, you were making it through high school. You might not be able to read or do math, but you were making it through. Why is this now, do you think, so important for our young people and for our state of Pennsylvania?
That's a great question. Um, I was a scholar athlete. I had a D1 scholarship to Towson University for track. Um, that's another story. But what I say to our young people is, like you said, Dr. Clark, it's not just about your talent. There are multiple talented people out there, but what sets you apart is your GPA above a 3. Are you ranking in the top 20% of your class? Did you take rigorous courses, right? You can have a 4.0 if you took art, drawing, mime, bowling, but do you have a good GPA with your rigorous courses? Did you take dual enrollment courses? Are you engaged in community service? So I give you an example. My son had several football offers for Division III. Division III football, you do not receive athletic scholarships. It's all academic. From the start in 8th grade, our young people need to know, what courses are you taking? They need to understand that high school is where you make it or break it. You set your GPA 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Right.
If you're waiting till your 12th grade year to pull it up or pull it through, you're a little behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
You start recruiting and branding yourself on Twitter in 8th grade. So what happened was, he wanted to major in engineering. He got accepted to all of the top engineering schools. He went at Morgan State University and they gave him good money, but the football team didn't make an offer.
Okay.
At the 10th hour, North Carolina A&T coach, we reached out to him. He called us back. He reviewed my son's stuff, and I quote, he said, because of your GPA,
Wow.
because you have dual enrollment courses, because you are ranked in the top 16%, because you got into the engineering program and the honors program, I want you on my team.
Wow.
So coaches have a choice. If I have this student athlete who has the GPA, and their SAT score may not be perfect, but I have the GPA and I took rigorous courses, versus the same talented athlete with a GPA of 2.5 or 2.0,
Yes.
they're going to go with the athlete with the higher GPA.
Yeah.
Because it demonstrates that you're focused and you're driven.
I love the example that you gave. It's a personal example, but and I love that you brought up about the branding, because that was one thing that I know about your son and just different athletes in our area, that they really are branded. And that is more important now than ever. And I think that when we help young people brand themselves, then they also understand why not to put certain things out online, because they realize that they are a brand. And that's true even beyond the student athlete. That's for any student out there trying to become a lawyer or a doctor or anything professional.
Yes.
Even their own
Yes.
entrepreneur, being their own business owner, they have to understand that people are looking at them, especially in their home community. You can't escape people knowing you because you know you've grown up there. So I love that you brought that up. And if a parent wanted to help their students start branding themselves, like what is like a simple tip that our parents could do? Like, where's a good starting point for our parents?
Having that honest conversation with with your child, um, saying, "Hey, what are your goals?" You
Yes.
know, if you're an athlete, and if you're not, if you're athlete, I'll speak to both athlete and non-athlete. There's a, you know, rule out here now. You can make money off of your brand.
Yes.
So a local company here, Ensign Company Real Estate, recently went to Penn State University at State College and gave 4 football athletes Teslas
Wow.
with their logo on it. Yeah, right? With their logo on it
Ah,
to drive for a year.
that's amazing.
They specifically chose those athletes because of their brand,
Wow.
because they didn't have outrageous, salacious things on their social media accounts.
Yes.
Shipley Oil here in York partnered with Bo Perula from Central. He
Okay.
received a significant amount of money
Great.
before he even stepped on the field at Penn State.
Yeah.
So it gives you an opportunity to earn income. So step one would be having that conversation with your child and helping them to understand that what you post will come back to haunt you,
Yes.
will make or break. Coaches look at that.
Oh
They
yeah.
scour
Yes.
Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. It doesn't matter if you think it's private. It does not matter if you have a fake name. They scour it to see who are your friends.
Yes.
What are your friends posting? Are your friends posting pictures with their middle finger up?
Yes.
Are they posting things that are inappropriate? Are they using biased language,
Mm.
inappropriate language? All that matters. So as a parent, monitor your child's social media. Have that conversation. Help them understand. One thing I did with our young people that I worked with, I
Mhm.
had them, one of our lessons, I had them analyze Michael Parsons.
Wow.
He's right from Harrisburg. He was ranked the top linebacker in the United States. He
Mm.
plays for Dallas Cowboys. I made them study his social media.
Right.
They researched it. They understood what that meant and how they were to replicate that. For
Yeah.
our non-athletes, it speaks to what you're saying about your future job. You
Mhm.
know, no one wants to hire somebody who was out there performing inappropriate acts on social media.
Mhm. Yes, even when I was being interviewed for this position, I mean, my social media actually came quite a bit into receiving the position just because of being able to one manage social media and then two, I really make sure that I keep positive images on my own social media. And all of us feel like we want to vent sometimes, but social media is not the place to do it. Call a
Yeah,
friend.
delete, 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 delete,
Delete,
delete, delete.
delete. That's right. I agree.
And that's one of the other services our company offers. We did help several young people set up their Twitter account, and
Wow.
we monitored it. So it's not just about posting appropriate things, but it's also about staying engaged,
Mhm.
teaching them how to create graphics on Canva,
Wow.
teaching them how to support each other. So we monitored that and gave them good feedback.
Oh, that's terrific. I just love that, because a lot of, young people wouldn't think of that. So I'm glad that you're doing that for them. What do you think? I mean, you gave us that one example of the student when you were the assistant superintendent, that one student coming up to you and saying, "Hey, I really need this help because this is what I want to, I really want to get into this college." What other pivotal moments made you one become an educator and then two sort of like focus in this one, or this certain area?
Okay, what made me become an educator? You're going to laugh at this one, right? So my father owns Washington and Dowling Contractors,
Yeah.
one of the oldest African American construction companies here in York.
Yeah.
And he sent me to college to major in accounting.
Okay.
I hate numbers.
Yes.
Okay. I was struggling at Towson. Debit, credit, what is that? No money, I don't care. Micro, macro, didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But I was taking African American literature, Chaucer, Shakespeare, African American philosophy courses because I loved engaging in that stuff. And so
Right.
my advisor, Dr. Danner, he said, "Come here." He said, "You're not doing well in your business classes." I was like, "Yeah, no, I had to take a couple twice." He
Yeah.
said, "But you got A's in English and literature."
Yes.
I said, "Okay." He said, "Do you think about switching your major to English?" I said, "And do what with that?"
Mm.
He was like, "Well, become a lawyer." I said, "No, my mouth can be a little reckless. I'll be held in contempt."
He
So
was a great lawyer.
okay. So then he said, "Well, an English teacher." And sadly, I said, I never saw an African American English teacher. So
Wow.
I didn't believe I could be that.
Wow.
And he said, "Get your coat." And he took me into Baltimore City
Oh.
School District. And I saw so many African American educators, superintendents, students. It just blew my mind. I
Wow.
came back to Towson State that day and changed my major to education.
Oh,
Um,
I love this story. I never heard this
so,
story. I love this.
so that's I learned how to stay true to my heart,
Yes.
and that's what made me stay in education. What helped me? What motivated me to start the um, college navigating process?
Hmm.
Um, I graduated from York Catholic High School. I ran on the 4x1 track team, and our
Okay.
track team had won states or placed in states all 4 years. Districts we won, counties we won. So we had a lot of buzz going around.
Yeah.
Um, my father said, "You got to go to college." And so I went to my counselor and I asked her about filling out the SAT. And she told me I needed to go to business college. That that's not where people like me go.
Wow.
Um, I said, "Oh, no, my father said I have to go to college, or he would give me a shovel and tell me to dig. So I need to get to college."
Yes. Yeah.
So she was like, "Well, you might be better fit for business school or a trade." I was like, "What?" So I was discouraged. And then one of my teammates' mother, she helped me fill out the application to
Wow.
take the SAT.
Hmm.
I had a great GPA in high school. My parents are from Bamberg, South Carolina. We didn't use words like loquacious and
Mm.
salacious or
Yeah.
gregarious in
Yeah.
my household.
Yeah.
I thought those were foreign words when I saw those words on the SAT. I
Yeah.
didn't take an SAT prep. I did not know how to take that test. Yet my friends from your Catholic who arrived to the SAT inebriated scored 1,000 and some change,
Right.
where I had to take it 5 times
Mm.
just to get an 850.
Yeah.
Um, so after becoming an educator at Towson and learning great instructional strategies,
Yes.
I said, "You know what? I'm going to make sure young people from urban communities do not experience what I had to go through."
Yes.
And so that's what really is my why and what
Yes.
drives my passion.
Wow. And I've known you a long time and didn't know this. So I love that you shared that with all of us. And I always find that when you find people with great purpose, they really have these really pivotal moments. And a lot of times it's when someone has said, that's not for you. And there's something inside of us who says, yes, it is for me, and we find a way. And luckily you had a friend's mom who helped you find the way. um, I've seen you do this work before you were even doing the work. And I think that might be something to touch on, because lots of people watch, are part of the coalition. Um, it felt to me like you were like really doing this work for a couple years just because it was the right thing to do. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Talk about that, Annie. It's like how you say we work for children.
Mm.
Um, It's just who we are. When you acknowledge the gifts and talents that God gave you, your creator gave you, whomever you know, subscribe to,
Mm-hmm.
then you work in your purpose.
Yes.
Um, and you remember, in spite of whatever's going around you, you remember you're there to impact the lives of young people.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do it in one capacity, in one venue, you can do it in another venue, but never stop the work if
Mm-hmm.
that is your authentic purpose.
Oh, I love that. I love that. One of the best quotes that I ever heard, and it's not mine, is children need help everywhere. And I love that quote. And I think about that even when I would have teachers who'd be like, okay, I'm moving on. I'd be like, well, children need help everywhere. And keeping that always in mind, that when a teacher is going from one organization to the other, or one school leader is moving, children need help everywhere. And we should change sometimes the places that we're providing that passion so new people experience what we know. So I think that's great. I love that. What tools, we're talking a lot with our parents. We have a big parent group that we're building across the state. We've identified about 20 leaders a few months ago, and now 20 more leaders who are going into advocacy training. When you've worked with parents over the years, or you're still working with parents, how do you help them identify what skills they have, because some of them may have never gone to college, or maybe didn't have a positive experience in school, and yet they're trying to help their child have a positive experience in school. How have you helped parents identify their skills?
So that's the second part of our business. Really, the first part is the private tutoring. And so when we work with young people, we work with parents or
Mhm.
their guardians or their mentees. We teach young people how to learn. We address the gaps, but we also stay on task for where the curriculum may lead.
Mhm.
If the learner's having challenges, I speak to the parents and say, hey, have you made an appointment with the teacher?
Mm.
Have you asked to see the data?
Mm.
Uh, if there's a gap, would you consider requesting to get evaluated?
Mhm.
It's about building trust.
Mm.
Often I've had clients who parent was murdered,
Mm.
and the PTSD and the anxiety and the daydreaming is not a direct reflection of the child being defiant. It's
Mhm.
the child having challenges mentally,
Yes.
and they need help in that capacity. I've dealt with young people who've been dedicated and trying their hardest to read. And
Mhm.
it's the teaching parents how to form a collaborative relationship with the schools and the
Mhm.
teachers. It's not successful all the time, but I staunchly believe there's at least one person in that building
Mhm.
who believes in kids.
Yes.
Find that person. Let that person help you be part of your tribe.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and so the one young lady, we learned finally after working and working and working, she is dyslexic.
Yes.
And as soon as that was uncovered, her reading scores jumped
Wow.
exponentially. So it's really working with parents and teaching them, hey, you don't have to know all the answers, but you have my number, reach out. I don't know how to fix a car. I don't know how to unclog my sink,
Yes.
but I know education, and I know when my car is jacked up to
Yes.
take it to an expert,
Yes.
and it's okay not to know everything.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That is so powerful. Lisa was on here last week, and we were just talking about parents, and that you don't have to know everything, but you do have to show up, and our schools have to do a better job of, when parents show up, really listening to what they're asking for, and not assume that you know what they're asking for. And so it's both, parents have to show up, but school leaders have to set an environment that allows people to show up and to ask questions and to be treated respectfully, and so I know
Yes.
across our state, we need to do a lot of work on that. A lot of our charter schools do a little bit better in that area, that they're very relationship driven. And so you'll see more engagement, but even beyond that, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania does value education, but nationally, a lot of people don't think that we do because there's been such hostility around education. And so that's something that all of us in education have to work on is um, showing that we value children and we value teachers, we value school leaders. You have been
Yeah.
a school leader a long time in lots of different venues. What was the most challenging part of being a school leader, and what advice would you have for other school leaders?
But before I answer that, I have to do a little shameless plug real quick.
Yeah.
I do tutor um, on a contract basis for cyber charter schools. And when you're talking about schools making an effort to develop effective, trustworthy relationships with parents,
Yeah.
Agora Public Charter School
Oh, they're
goes above and beyond,
great.
above and beyond. Um, when I'm working with my student who has an IEP, the mother will ask me a question. I will say, hey, contact the case manager, the caseworker. That caseworker responds in less than 6 hours.
Wow.
I've never seen anything like it.
That's
The mother, the parents, I've worked with several different clients. They feel very comfortable. They know their case managers are reachable.
wow.
They know they're listening to them.
Yeah.
When they give suggestions, they come together as a team for a meeting.
Oh.
Phenomenal. I wish, you know, for the public schools that are embarking upon virtual learning, I've even said to several public schools, you need to contact Agora and see how they do it.
Yeah, I
If
say
if it
that
is your
too to public schools quite a bit too, and it's not an insult. It's just that once you see how it is really done, you can't unsee it. And someone saying,
right,
"Oh, oh, we do a cyber school and it's the same." It's not the same. And and it's important that we do quality education, regardless of what type of education we're providing. It has to be quality. There's no point in putting a child in front of a screen and they're just click, click, click. They need engagement of humans. They need a teacher on the other side, engaging them with other
yes, they do.
yes.
Yes, they do. So my most challenging, you said my most challenging piece of education leadership.
I was saying, you have been in a wide range of venues in educational leadership. What was most challenging about being a school leader? Because a lot of our school leaders, it is challenging for them. So what was challenging for you? And then what advice do you have for other educators, other school leaders?
I'm very transparent. I did not like being a principal. I think that was the hardest job.
It is a hard
I
job.
prefer the classroom.
Mhm.
I prefer the classroom. The only part of being a principal I liked was when I could visit the classrooms and collaborate with the teachers and most definitely interact with the students. I
Yeah.
just liked the meetings. I just liked the meetings. Um, what did I love the most? My tenure at Stilton High Spire School District. It
Uh,
was a small district. I had many responsibilities, but the school district was community focused. So
mm,
everyone was driven to serve the young people.
wow.
My advice to upcoming educational leadership people, set boundaries.
Mm, that's good advice.
If you have children, be present for your children. When you get home, turn it off and be a parent. If you don't have
Mhm.
children, when you get home, turn it off and do self care.
Yes.
As educators, sometimes we work ourselves to the bone and
Yes.
then we wonder why we are burnt out. Um, you have to set boundaries and make time for you, your hobbies outside of your job. Your job is not you.
Mhm.
You have to take care of you. That's what helps you become a better educational leader. and thrive.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. We have been doing these segments called CEO summits across the state. The next one is in Pittsburgh, and there's always a section on self-care for the school leaders because they don't take care of themselves. They sometimes don't shut it off when they go home, don't set boundaries. And you're right, they are burnout, and especially coming through the pandemic, whatever stress and exhaustion we had prior to that only was amplified from going through the pandemic. So it's great
And
advice.
it still is.
Oh yeah.
It still is.
Oh yeah.
Um, when I substituted, a school had called me and said, "Hey, do you know any teachers who could substitute?" And it was an alternative school. Like, I can, I missed the
I know, I
classroom.
tried.
And so at this school, I was pleasantly surprised. They had a quiet room.
Oh.
The teachers turned a closet into a quiet room. It was a couch, Zen music,
Oh.
the lights around the top of the ceiling, refrigerator with cold water and fresh fruit.
Oh
It
nice.
was just a room for a teacher to go into on their break or at lunch and just meditate and calm down.
I love it.
Just like we give young people calming rooms, I think our educators need that sometimes. They're overstimulated, and our administrators, they definitely need it sometimes. We might go in our car and drink a cup of coffee, but wouldn't it be great to
Yes,
have a quiet room where administrators and staff could, know that's there to help them with that self-care.
absolutely. Almost every conference you go to now has a quiet room, has like a Zen area that adults can go do puzzles or coloring. The lights are turned down, there's music playing, there's someone there to help you with breathing. Um, so I mean the last 3 or 4 conferences I've went to, there was a room like that. So I think that's really cool that that's become a priority for all of us. Long overdue. So I'm glad to see that. That was great. What other supports do you think that our schools, and this can be any schools, should be offering students? What other supports? You're in lots of schools. What do you see that's really great? You brought up the Zen room. That was a good example. What other supports could we be offering students coming through the pandemic or our athletes or whoever?
I think the best thing a school could do is create a space for young people to come to and give their opinion.
Oh, I love.
Often as adults, we make choices of what we think children need.
Mm-hmm.
Let the children tell us what they need. William Penn Senior High School, the social workers there recently did that. They started well, right after the pandemic. It's called Wellness Wednesday. And they
Oh.
brought community leaders together to address the whole child.
Mm-hmm.
When children get out half a day, it's a partnership with York City School District, York City government, community people, where we shared all the resources that we could offer. And then the young people came to the table and said what they needed and
Oh,
what they would like to see. And then the social workers and the staff took that information and created action plans
that's
to
great.
implement that. And so
That,
one of the things that came out of that was the young people wanted a mental health club.
oh wow. That is great.
Um, at Susquehanna High School, some of the marginalized students band together and they formed a diversity club.
Mm.
Um, that sparked a network where some of the high school students at Southwestern High School said, "Hey, show us how to do it." They sparked a diversity club. So we have to let the young people, we have to elevate their voices. We have to ask them what do they need? What would they like?
Yes,
That keeps them in school. That
absolutely.
keeps them engaged when we show that we value their
Hmm.
insight. People want to feel value.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I I've always thought this about high school. You have this, you have, hundreds and sometimes thousands of students, depending on the size of the high school, who are ready to change the world. They just need a
Yeah.
direction to be focused on. And, and there's such passion. Any high school you walk into, a young person will come up and tell you something they're passionate about. If you stand in a hallway of a school long enough, some child will come up and say, hey, they see an adult there. They're like, hey, I want to tell you about something. And they just want to be validated that that idea that they have is important. We have this really small, brand new school in Midland, Pennsylvania. Midland is a small community of like 2,000 residents, but there's a technical school there. I think they have right now 108 students. But every time I go in, I meet a new student. And literally, I'm standing in the hallway, and this student will come up and say, hey, I have this idea for, social media, or I have this idea for school, student council, and it's just amazing to me that if you make yourself available and if you seem approachable, young people will come up and tell you what they're thinking
Mhm.
about and what is important to them, and really can change the whole course of a high school by just putting
And in middle school,
oh, and middle school, yeah, maybe even more in
the
middle
middle
school.
schoolers, their voices are loud. Like they're gonna make their point clear. They're
Exactly.
gonna get your attention. Like,
Yeah,
come
they
here, miss.
found their
Good
voice.
Lord, what's getting
Yeah,
ready to
miss,
get your
come here.
mouth?
We both have experienced that, so that is for sure. I agree with you. Did you have a mentor growing up that really, I don't know, just changed how you felt about like what you were going to be? Was there someone in the
Yes,
community that really mentored you?
yes.
Do you
Miss
want to?
Jackie Martina.
Oh, I love her.
I am a
Love
CA
you.
kid. I am a CA kid. Um, from daycare up to 12. I remember when Mr. Simpson first started there as a janitor,
Wow.
and then became the director. Um, I remember when Miss Martino came from South Carolina
Mm.
to CA. She was a French teacher, and she was speaking French to us, and we looked at her like she was crazy. But she kept speaking French to us. Her passion, her authenticity, her genuineness. Um, we loved her for it.
Yes,
Miss Martino could tell us to sit, and we would sit.
yes,
Whatever she wanted, we did because we knew she loved us.
yes,
And so after graduating, I was asked to come back and serve on their board for the
yes,
charter school, and then later became the CEO. Miss Martino has always been um, a mentor to me and someone who I continue to look up to because her passion exudes and her legacy is historic.
yes, yes. I love that you brought her up. She's one of I love her. She sends me positive messages when I send a message over to the CEOs. And she always sends me something back, and I always appreciate that. She still, all these years, has passion for what she does, still running the program there at the CA. And it's just amazing. The other thing that I really love about Crispus Attucks is so many of our leaders in New York came through the programs at Crispus Attucks. Yourself, I mean, I could just, there's really no one that you can really sort of name who isn't a leader who didn't have some experience there growing up, which just shows you like how one program, one building can produce amazing leaders that will cover your community for generations. So I think that they need to interview every former CA kid because it will be an amazing group of individuals. You guys need to get a picture all together, like of all the CA.
What's funny, my kids are CA kids. So it's I think that would be awesome. Chris Pachax does a great job of that. And then my other mentor was Dr. Julia Hines Harris. Um, when I came back to York to start teaching, she guided me a lot. Do
Wow.
this, don't do that. Come here, let's meet. What did you do differently? She just really helped me navigate that process, as did Dr. Teresa Diggs.
Yeah. All great educators, all great women of York. So I'm not
Yeah, yeah.
surprised that they're not your mentors, because they have all mentored me in one degree or the other. So I agree with you on that. This has just been a lovely conversation. Like, is there anything else you want to share before we go? And I hope that you would come back again and we could talk more about education.
I would love to. I would love to. The
Great.
only thing I would like to emphasize and encourage charter schools to really consider creating a a career and college coach position or
Mm,
mentorship,
okay.
especially with the public charter schools, especially because of Act 158.
Okay.
You know, with Act 158, our young people have to jump through some hoops to secure a diploma. You
Mm,
know,
yeah.
everyone doesn't have good test taking skills.
Right.
So, it'd be awesome if everyone could pass that Keystone assessment, right?
Yes.
Or at least get an average score and not a below average on one of the tests to meet that check mark, right?
Yes.
It would be awesome to say, hey, I can get a 10-10 on the SAT. But if I did not have algebra 2, it's going to be a little challenging for you
Mm-hmm.
to get a 10-10 on the SAT or 31 on the ACT.
Right.
The ASVAB, okay, that score is feasible and possible. But the two last options are more than feasible.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get accepted to a 4-year college, you met that requirement. You can now graduate.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're embarking upon a career and you have enrolled into a trade program, a Google certification program, a Microsoft certification program,
Yeah.
instructional design program, or secured a full-time job, those things also help you meet that requirement. And so if schools can find a place in their budget or subcontract with a company
Mm-hmm.
to focus on just for your seniors for the first part of the year. And then after January, your juniors
Mm-hmm. Yes.
to develop a career in college coach. Doing so will help schools
Yes.
serve students better, meet their graduation requirements, and help students secure a diploma.
I love that. I'm going to ask you to come back and we'll set up a time just to have that conversation with the CEOs. Just because I think it is critical. And I think some of the things that you mentioned there are very feasible solutions that I don't think everybody does think of. And yet, it's a very powerful and important conversation. And we have new schools opening, so they don't know all of that and they need that assistance. So
Right.
that's great.
Well, another shout out to Dr. Barry, Superintendent of York City School District.
Yeah.
She realized the importance of that and hired our company to partner with their high school counselors and their career college coach
That's great.
to make sure that all seniors have equitable access to
Mm.
resources to meet the Act 158 requirement and establish a post-secondary career plan.
Oh, I love that. That makes me
Like I
extremely.
said, our counselors have a caseload of 100 to 200 to 300.
Yes, that's right.
You got to bring in that support, just like we support teachers and say, limit our class sizes, just like we support special ed teachers to limit their caseload.
Yes.
We have to help our high school counselors. And by giving them that support where they can collaborate with someone and someone's giving them
Yeah.
a monthly update. Here are your students, here where they applied, here's where they got accepted, here's what they still need.
Yes.
It's a win-win.
You know what other school has that as well is your county school of technology. They also have
Mm.
a person in that position. And one of the things when I went to visit that school, they have something like 360 identified scholarships that are just like readily available for the students to apply for. And so you're absolutely right. Like that position, I think in a high school is critical to, if you really want to affect long-term change for your students, that position is critical, and it makes it will pay for itself. It's the right thing for children. It's definitely a good position. So I agree with you. I'm glad you brought it up. Well, this has
You're
been
welcome.
wonderful. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for being part of our show. And I will talk again soon.
Thank you for what you do. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.